everyone, my name is Brandon. Today I'm here to review the new movie, The Invisible Woman, which stars Elisabeth Moss and a whole bunch of other people that I did not know about. Actually, fun fact, the worst part of this movie was towards the end when my friend Googled who played Adrian in the movie, realized it was Luke from Haunting of Hill House, which I have not watched. So for the rest of the movie, she proceeded to just say, "Oh, Luke," whenever he was on screen. But I find the whole concept behind this movie very, very interesting and intriguing because originally Johnny Depp was supposed to be part of the Invisible Man movie, and it was like going to be this whole big scale, big production kind of thing, and it was going to tie into this whole dark universe that Universal was trying to create with The Mummy. Angelina Jolie was also going to be in like The Bride of Frankenstein, but then The Mummy with Tom Cruise came out and absolutely bombed, so they had to rethink that, and The Invisible Man kind of got scrapped for a little bit until they revisited it and worked it as this kind of lower budget, lower production, and basically turned it into what we see now. And I, for one, was so intrigued by the concept. I think it is a very, very interesting and modern take on what The Invisible Man was originally, in that it takes into a very real account of abuse and how that can affect relationships in daily life. You see it through the eyes of Cecilia, who is played by Elisabeth Moss, I feel, very, very well. One thing that I was really impressed with was how much autonomy and agency they gave to Cecilia without making her just kind of a male gaze kind of thing. I think in the beginning, in the first scene, when she first escapes from Adrian, she's in a very like kind of revealing nightgown and stuff like that, and at first you're kind of like, oh gosh, it's one of these movies, but then you find out afterwards that like he was very controlling about the way she dressed, so it would make sense that she dressed like that. And then throughout the rest of the movie, she's really in like comfortable clothes, like appropriate clothes, but they're not ones that are obviously like make her look super sexy, so it just seemed a lot more realistic than like seeing, you know, her in like these ridiculously short or skimpy outfits. So that was something I really appreciated. And even in the end, when, spoiler alert, I'm gonna be talking about spoilers in this movie, so just be prepared for that. But in the end, when she went back to confront Adrian for one last time, like the way she was dressed was very, very attractive, but it was still in her own terms of like, I'm gonna dress how I want, not how you, the man, think I should dress. It was still a drop dead gorgeous look, especially with that red lip. Oh. But you could very much see that she's like, I'm in control now. And I think that was just a very interesting thing to see her go throughout the movie, because that was basically what Adrian wanted completely. She said he wanted total control over everything she did, she said, she ate, she wore, and eventually she said it became like he was controlling and understanding her thoughts because he had just warped her so much into this image of what he expected her to be. And I think there is a turning point after she kills his brother. I think that you can see a turning point with her in that her friend's trying to tell her like, you know, like this wasn't Adrian, like he was locked up. And throughout, like beforehand, when she had been explaining like what was happening, obviously so, she's kind of hysterical about it, like crying, yelling, like being like, you have to believe me, and no one would. But when she finds out that it's the brother and that they're trying to convince her that like, you know, like Adrian wasn't a part of this, like you're safe now, she's so resolute and so calm in explaining that like she's like, no, I know this is him. This is what he does. He manipulates people, and he used his brother totally as a scapegoat to throw like the scent off of him. It was never like any doubt in her mind, and she wasn't gonna let anyone talk her out of that. But also just like the way she was so calm in it was like, I'm not even gonna bother like defending this or trying to rationalize this to you. I don't care if you believe me anymore. I know it's going to be true. It just really showed how secure she was in like herself now. Like she knew that she wasn't imagining these things, and that she wasn't going to imagine that Adrian is all of a sudden this much better guy, and that his brother supposedly had him locked up, and all of a sudden his brother was the one that came up with all these plans to make her look crazy and to kill her sister and everything like that. And then that led to the whole confrontation scene she had with him, which was just so intense. Like it really showed like, I think, how she had learned his game and she managed to outmove him. The way that it was set up in that she came back, and then when she like was acting like she was so shocked that like this happened, it was just amazing watching that shot where she steps back so she's far enough so she knows she's out of the camera, and she just starts to smile and look at him and be like, I'm the one that won in the end. And I think it was very fitting that she got him the same way that he had taken her sister. I think it was like justice in the end for her. And also like the way her friend was saying when he was like, you didn't come here expecting a confession, did you? And she didn't answer, but like, you knew. I think they did a really good job with the horror aspect of it, and my friend pointed this out, and I do agree with her in that they used empty space in a really menacing way. Because normally, like in a movie where there's horror stuff, the person would be like walking around and you would see something running behind them, or maybe behind them and they don't see it. You obviously couldn't do this in this movie because the threat is literally invisible. So I feel like they were able to shoot the shots and block them in a way where like she would turn and it would be very menacing. It was just like an empty corner or like just the hallway behind her, but you were just always waiting for something to happen, and you as an audience never knew if he was there or not, which is what made it even more intense. You didn't know where exactly he was, if he wasn't outright fighting her. Like the fight scenes were very well choreographed, I will say. Like they felt very realistic, especially for how low this budget was. I think it was only like 7 million. They did very, very well making it feel like she really was being, you know, like in a fight with a person that you just couldn't see. I think they did a really good job of that. There's a scene, I think, when she first starts to get the idea that he is there after he hits the little girl. She is like walking around the house. She's got a scene where like the whole, like it's her face and then the whole kind of open empty room is behind her, and you know he's somewhere in there, you just don't know where. And then there's also a similar one when you can see it in the trailer when she goes outside and you expect someone to be behind her because they're really, the shot is really focused on like over her shoulder, but you still don't see anyone until you see his breath in the cold air. And that didn't totally make sense to me because I was like, we saw the mask and he would have to have lifted it up to do like a cold breath, but it was still a really, really cool shot. I think what really worked for this movie was they let Cecilia be a smart character. I feel like normally a lot of times in movies like this, they're just big dum-dums. Like they make stupid choices and they don't do the right thing. But I think for the most part in the situation she was in, she was very smart, she was very clever, and she out-manipulated him until the end. Like, she never gave up, and I think that was very, very interesting. Like, even chasing after him once he had gotten outside of the hospital and stuff like that, and I just think it showed that she was capable of taking him on, and I think it just culminated in the end scene of her out-manipulating him, but the whole movie you could see she was making smart choices, like dumping the paint on him, like grabbing the knife. She knew not to underestimate him, I think, more than anyone in the entire movie did, because she had been the one that knew just how far his abuse and his manipulation and his control can go. So I just think it was a really entertaining movie, and I think this hopefully is going to have them take a step back and look at their dark universe and kind of see that they can rework it maybe in a better way, that you make these kind of smaller scale movies that are cheaper, that are very well reviewed and very well done, and then they'll make more money and you don't have to worry so much about the connections, because there wasn't really any connections to like a larger universe. I know the end kind of wrapped up on like a broad note of her taking the suit. So perhaps there could be an Invisible Woman sequel that now they're gonna have her going after like vigilante style abusers or something like that. There's an Invisible Woman movie in the works with Elizabeth Banks though, separate from this. I don't know if they'll rework that now though, because like I said, this did end on kind of like a note of like maybe like she's gonna go after people who are doing this to other people now that she has the suit and stuff like that. So I think overall it was just really, really good. It took kind of something that happens in modern day and made it have this not even supernatural element, because that's another thing I really liked, and that they made it a technology thing, because I think that's more realistic to what today's society is and what the fears and dangers around society are today, is that he was able to make this invisible suit and make it look like she was absolutely crazy. What I liked is she never doubted herself. Like, she was very forceful in trying to prove it. So I think it was just really, really great. Elisabeth Moss did such a great job, and I would absolutely not mind seeing a sequel if it was as good as this. The writing was so good. I think they really gave Cecilia a lot of autonomy that you don't normally see a lot of times with female characters. She was smart and she outsmarted her abuser, and it was just really, really awesome to see. So if you've seen this movie or are interested in seeing it, please feel free to leave your thoughts about it down below in the comments. Also make sure this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!